Next, we're going to talk about the first half champions, the Atlanta Black Crackers from the same Negro American League we talked about from the previous team, the Birmingham Black Barons. Now, I'm not sure if they won the second half or the first half. You had managers, apparently Gabby Kemp was 18-7, and Nish Williams was 10-18. But in personal anecdotes, said that Nick Williams went to New York, got some New York players, and they ended up winning the pennant. So I'm not so sure how this is going. Because they basically finished with a 28, what was it? Let's see, let me just tabulate here. 32, 20, let's see, yeah, 18, 10, 28, 32, 25, 34. So 32, 34 pedestrian, but they won the first half or the second half of the split series, sort of like the 1981 Major League Baseball season. So they didn't have a great overall record, but they won the second half, and they played the Memphis Red Sox for the World Series and lost 2-0. So, but they got to the World Series, and Atlanta was that was the first team to do so. We got Bernardo Fernandez, Tampa. Alice J., I think he was from Cuba. Gabby Kemp, Georgia. Jimmy Reese, Atlanta. Morris Brown. Charles Dunklin, Birmingham. I've noticed you see a lot of players get traded back and forth. Maybe even to play 3 teams per year. 28, Red Howard, Birmingham. I think high school. Catherine. 27, Felix Evans, Atlanta. Morehouse. Catherine T. Margaret Norris. Telos Howard, Georgia. Bo Mitchell. So he was previously with the Birmingham Barons that year as well. Eddie Dixon, Florida. Morris Brown, Henderson. Jim Canada, Alabama. Edgar Pope, Morris Brown. Edgar Pope, okay. Bob Miller, don't know. Alex Crumley, Winston-Salem, Burke, Georgia. Marjorie Rachel Long, died 1938. This is the guy I would say he's probably the story of the year kind of thing. If you were to research Negro League baseball, he played like 3 or 4 teams there and died very young. Rest in peace. Bus driver. He ended up doing the offseason. Benny Fields. Jimmy Schamberger, Alabama, Thelma. It's ironic that Alex here, because of his death, that he was known, and his wife and everything. So they have a tombstone, so it's kind of ironic. He didn't have much of a career compared to the other guys who were basically unknown, left unknown. So that's why I'm saying there's hope out there as far as technology and everything else. Marlon Carter, Texas, Monarch signee. San Antonio, Black Indians. I think this is a guy who told his story about playing in the Negro Leagues, the semi-pros. I think there was a nice story about that because he lived a very long time. He died about in the early teens of 2013, 2014, something like that. Tyler, Flit Holiday, Texas. Let's see here. Let me go. 14, Leo Sims, again. Mary Green, we don't know. So, hey, progress. Bozo Jackson, don't know. Nish Williams, Atlanta, Morehouse. Nashville Elite Giants, signee. Helen Leontine, more. His stepson was Don Clendenin. Interesting, they had a successful restaurant and business there in Atlanta. They owned a home in the white neighborhood, and the group called the Colombians didn't quite like that. They bombed many homes around 1947 like 6 at one period. They'd put their little symbol on the door to let them know who they were. Eventually, that kind of died down when charges were being brought. But this group, the remnants of that group were the ones, or maybe they weren't. I know they said they died down, but really they didn't. They were responsible of the temple bombing in 1958. So it started here. Because a black family owned a white home, even though they weren't tenants in it. Or they were tenants, and, you get what I'm saying. Spencer Davis, Winston-Salem. Ellen Allen. 10, Red Hadley, Georgia. 9, Bill Cooper, South Carolina. Morris Brown. Donald Reeves, Atlanta, Clark, Atlanta. 7, Don Pellman, Florida. 6, Babe Davis, Athens, Georgia. Hap Glenn, Stone Mountain, Georgia. Tommy Pee Wee Butts, I remember that guy from a long time ago. Georgia, high school, Booker T. Washington. Gabby Kemp, Georgia. Red Moore, Atlanta High School. Booker T. Washington. They didn't have a team, but from that school, they'd play various leagues outside of high school. And Morris Brown seemed to be, they had good athletes, but they didn't really play much, I guess, for the team. So I'm not sure how that went down. All right, so 2, Red Moore. He was probably famous later on as a guy who played in Negro Leagues. He talked about his going to the 1938 World Series. So, and then the final one is James Joe Green, Stone Mountain, Georgia, Emma S. Extra, Roy Harding. So there you have it for the National League, Negro American League, one half champion who ended up playing the Memphis Red Sox. So there you have it, the 1938 Atlanta Black Crackers.